My name is James, and I am a 48-year-old father of three. From Seattle, Washington. My story is about a family, broken and then rebuilt not by the hands that left it, but by the hands that stayed to hold it together. The night she left is etched into my memory forever. It was raining, the kind of rain that washes away everything. She stood in the living room, a suitcase in her hand, her eyes distant and unfamiliar. Our youngest son, Mark, clung to her leg, crying, "Mommy, where are you going?" She just looked at me and said, "I can't do this anymore. I need to live my truth." Her truth, apparently, was a man named Kevin. From her yoga class, she walked out that night without a glance, back, no goodbyes. Just the cold silence and the click of the front door. I stood there stunned, holding the pieces of what used to be our family. I had to gather myself fast. With 3 children, a harsh reality set in. The woman I loved had chosen someone else. The first year was an agony of trying to be 2 parents at once. Lily, our oldest daughter, stopped talking for months. Ethan, barely 11 at the time, got into fights at school. And Mark, the sweetest of them all, cried himself to sleep. Too many nights to count. I worked 2 jobs, packed their lunches, braided their hair, helped with their homework, cried alone in the shower, and forced a smile every single day. People whispered, some blamed me, but no one truly understood the depth of it. She never called. Not once. No birthday cards, no child support. It was as if we were a chapter she had simply decided to skip, but I refused to let her absence define us. I raised my children with love, discipline, and the unflinching truth. I taught them not to hate, but I never lied about what happened. They grew up knowing their mother had prioritized herself over them, and yet they grew into the most incredible people. Lily became a nurse. Ethan opened his own mechanic shop, and Mark joined the army. I had done it. We had done it without her. So, when I opened the door, 22 years later, and saw her standing there, hair, grayer eyes, tired, a suitcase in her hand, just as before, my first instinct was not anger, but a cold disbelief. Why now? I asked. I made a mistake, she finally whispered, her voice shaking with a regret. I used too long for decades ago. Kevin died 3 months ago. I've been alone ever since. I thought maybe we could talk. I said nothing. The kids were grown. My life was peaceful, and here she was trying to reopen a door she had slammed shut. She looked past me, expecting to be welcomed back, but I didn't move. I just looked at her, the lines on her face, and thought about every scraped knee, every birthday, every graduation she had missed. The kids heard about her return, and their reactions were clear. Lily was furious. She doesn't get to come back after 22 years and pretend she still matters, she said. Ethan just muttered, she's got guts, I'll give her that. And Mark, ever the peacemaker, simply asked, are you okay, Dad? None of them wanted to see her. They had built their lives without her, and now she was acting like time owed her a second chance. She told me how her life with Kevin had fallen apart, how the freedom she craved became a cage, how he never wanted kids, and how she missed hers, but none of it changed a thing. I looked her in the eye and said, they're not your kids anymore. Meant it. She had walked out on them, and now she wanted to walk back in just because her new life didn't work out. A few days later, she left a letter on the porch with a photo of us from the past. On the back, she had written, I'm sorry for everything. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I just wanted to say goodbye. Properly this time. That night, I stared at the photo for hours. Not because I missed her, but because I didn't. The woman in that picture, the one I married, was gone. The woman who stood at my door weeks ago was a stranger, and I owed that stranger nothing. A month later, the grandkids were running around. In the backyard, Lily and her husband were on their way. Ethan had texted, don't start the beer without me. Surrounded by the family. I raised the family she left. I felt a quiet peace. Not the peace that follows a storm, but the peace that comes from knowing you have survived one she may have walked away all those years ago, but I walked forward and I never looked back.